Tries to get up Gaga. He's in a very dangerous position here. This is... Yeah, and you see how close he gets to dying here. Just all it takes is one mistake on the Mercy. You're going to get punished by these Overwatch League players. Wow, he's going for, okay, he's going for the res off the edge. And he's screaming here. Right now, he's absolutely screaming to Gaga. Peek me! Peek me! What is going on, guys? My name is Coach Hayes and welcome to another pro review. Today we're going to be reviewing Chengdu Hunter's main support player, NISHA. This is actually one of the first times on the channel we've reviewed a main support playing the Mercy before. I believe the last one we did was Admiral Raptor on the Brig, but I don't think we've done a Mercy before. So this is the first time we're reviewing Mercy on the channel. Hunters, as you've probably been following, Hunters doing very well at the moment in the season. They are 3-1. They did end up losing this game to Fusion, but this was a pretty close game. I've been recommended by one of my patrons in my Discord that this Kings Row match was a pretty good game from NISHA. So let's take a look and see what he does. I'll do my best throughout the whole review to try and break down and look at what he did well, and then also talk about what he doesn't do well. So maybe there's some things you guys can take from this and improve on. So one of the things we want to be looking out for when NISHA's playing the Mercy here is who are the enemy threats, right? Because this is very, very important for him if he's playing Mercy. If he doesn't know who his threats are, how can he know who he needs to use line of sight to avoid and who he needs to dodge? If we look at the threats on the enemy team, I would say the main threats, I mean, he has a lot of threats actually. McCree is going to be a threat. Tracer is going to be a threat if he gets too low. Ball is even a threat as well if he gets too low, because Ball can obviously follow up onto the Mercy when she's in the sky, as opposed to as Winston, who can't. The Diva is also a big threat. So, you know, he has actually quite a lot of threats. Alarm is also potentially a threat. You know, Alarm is scary on this Ana. So he actually has a pretty tough job here on the Mercy. He has a lot of enemy threats that he needs to be avoiding. Right now they're not on a Zen, so he's not likely to get. He's not going to get discorded. But still, I think this is going to be a tough comp for him to play against, especially when I see Carpe on the McCree. Okay, I'm not a big fan of that already. Like, he just flies across. He flies across like, you know, we should already be using this cover. These two should already be like establishing what position they want to hold from. And so I think for this, I mean, flying across like this, the chances are Carpe is not going to hit the 2-shot while he's flying. But the thing is, when you're playing Mercy, you need to reduce all risks of getting killed. And so obviously there was a slight risk there. If he takes damage and then Manu for somehow is able to follow up on this with Hopper, any damage is essentially bad for him, right? So slight mistake there, but he doesn't get punished for it. Wow, Gaga is so aggressive there. Yeah, I think, yeah, he's looking for a res here, but I don't think he's going to do a nice job of defending this. Notice how he doesn't drop down here and go for the res. He uses the statue to kind of like feel out. And this is something a lot of Mercy players don't know how to do. They see a dead body, they go for the res straight away. What you need to do as a Mercy, you need to kind of do like a recon on the dead body. You need to get an idea if it's safe to go for the res or not. And so let's look at what NISHA does here. He uses the Guardian Angel to shift towards Elsa to get into position. From here, you can see how he's kind of scouting. He's getting a feel for the area. Is it safe to res? Mano and Hopper are right on top of this body, and so is Rascal. And then you've got Carpe, the Zen, and the McCree established position on the left side there. So this is not going to be a res that he can go for. And he realizes that and he backs off. So it's important for you, any of you guys playing that are Mercy players, you need to do a recon of your res. If you just go straight for the res without knowing who's in the area, you could just be getting into a terrible trap. So he's using the jump tech to try and get some elevation here. I like this because otherwise, you know, they're dealing more damage. This is actually quite interesting as well. Like the Echo Mercy are playing in line of sight here of the Ana, so that anyone that takes like a 2v2 or 2v1 or 3v2 in this area, they have the support and they have the healing, and they have this amazing cover that they can use. Obviously the supports can push here, but this is like a really nice position for the Echo Mercy to play from. Pape is going aggressive. Nice matrix. See there how he's using the cover? This is really, really risky though. I think when he hears this McCree, when he hears that McCree there, he needs to be shifting away already. Like to get out of this line of sight. And even now he needs to be walking back. You know, because he doesn't want to be getting caught in this position. He needs to be backing off. And he doesn't need to use... The other thing I see a lot of Mercy players do is they don't use the full range on the beam. He has no business to be there. You know, he could be further back on this kind of position here, where at least from here, he's able to still heal Leave and Elsa, but he's not quite as close to this main area. Because look, he's smack in the middle there. He uses the jump tech again. He's trying to look for an opportunity to go for a res, but there's too many areas in the too many enemies in the area there. Nice escape there. Oh my god, Rascal just absolutely dominated him. I've got to see that. Woo, that was clean. But if you use full range on beam, wouldn't that make it harder for your DPS to push? Sure. He's not using the full range here. You know, if he's if he stood here, this is not full range. The full range is probably like more like this, and it's gonna break off. So I guess I'm gonna recorrect what I said. You don't have to use full range, but just make sure you're utilizing the actual range on it. Obviously, if you break the range, that's not good. But yeah, the beam does persist for a good while after. Let's look at tempo here. Let's try and look at tempo and see what he's thinking at this point, because this is important for you as well to learn from. So, okay, that's a bit of information there. Leave has lost his clone. Jinmu's got a nice pick on Carpe. He shifts into Monk. Winston's down. Take a look at the fight. What can we see? Well, we see Leave is back. I'm confused. Oh, okay. Okay, so Leave, he lost Mech, and then he got Diva Mech instantly. And that's why it looks like the clone has died. So, he's lost Mech. We've got an Echo clone, a Diva. His Anna's with him, and then Jinmu's on the right side here pressuring. They are even in terms of the kill feed, I believe. Yeah, they're even. 1 for 1. I think that's a big mistake, actually. So let me ask, like, what reason does he have to shift across there? What reason does he have to shift there? He's already healing his target, which is the Diva. There's no res available that you can go for. Is that a res? Okay, why is it not showing? Okay, my bad. I think he's trying to go for the res, but the res is not showing on the UI. So that is actually why he's setting up for this, I believe. Okay, so it makes sense now. He's going for the res. He is going for the res. He has double Diva Matrix, though. I think she should be okay to go for this. Like, if he communicates this to his Divas... If he communicates this to his Divas, he should be able to get double Matrix here, and he should be okay. But again, we're seeing the power of the Discord here. And this is like what happens at the highest level. If you go for a play like a res, you get discorded. You know, all it takes is Rascal. He gets a lot of damage there on the cross. He gets discorded. He gets hit by a Zen shot. And then Rascal's there to follow up. This could have been a good play had he have gotten the Matrix here from the Divas. I think had he communicated that, and maybe he did communicate this, but they didn't listen. Who knows? Something you guys can learn from. If you're in a situation like that, you do have a Diva, ask for the res. Okay, he's just resetting here. You have Valkyrie online now. Curious to see how he uses the Valk. sticking with Leave right now to get a nice EMP. He's using the mercy setting where he doesn't need to look to shift. He doesn't need to look to Guardian Angel. I'm not sure what it's called, but he has the setting, yeah, where you basically don't need to look at the target to be shifting, which I think is actually pretty useful. It definitely takes some getting used to. Leave gets absolutely destroyed there by Alarm. Shifting nicely over the roof here, like this is good, right? Because let's look at the tempo again. Tempo, what is tempo, you might be wondering? Well, tempo is basically, if you imagine two teams pulling on a rope, which team has the advantage at that point? So which team is, you know, successfully pulling? So if we look at this right now, which team would you say are pulling this successfully here? Which team have the advantage? Hunters, right? Hunters have a huge advantage. They have landed a big EMP, a 4-man EMP. They're following up with dive. So right now they have a big tempo advantage. Now tempo can be anything from which team has the most ultimates, which team lands the most ultimates, which team has the best positioning on the map, which team has the most players alive, which team has the most health, which team has the most cooldowns. And you're probably going to see a lot of these Overwatch League games where you're kind of trying to figure out why they're pushing. And it could be that you've missed a slight cooldown, a small cooldown advantage, or maybe a position advantage that one of the teams has recognized, and they're trying to push that advantage. That's what these teams do at the Overwatch League level. They understand the advantages they have, and they understand when they have disadvantages, and they understand we have a disadvantage, we should be backing off here. Right now, Fusion are probably screaming back, like they're trying to survive this, and that's why we see them running inside here to try and survive. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the stream. So we see Leave is dropping off the high ground here. He's maintaining as much height as he can because he wants to stay, you know, hidden amongst the chaos here. Leave gets absolutely dominated there. Instantly goes for the Valk. Valk here just provides him with more survivability while he's going for this. I like the position he's in because he's sticking very close to this cover. If he reses from here, look at this now. Like, the enemy McCree is going to be having line of sight there. So keeping that, maintaining the cover between him and the McCree there. Look at his targets here for heals. Supporting the Ana. Hardboxing Leave. Couple Glocks on the Diva. Okay, so he's heard the Ana has blinked. Sorry, he's heard the Tracer has blinked left side, so he knows that the Tracer's probably on her way towards either him or the Ana. Shifts back towards his team. Hears the Tracer footsteps. Looking closely with his Ana. Diva's spinning back. They've lost the Sombra. I don't like this. I don't like this at all, really, because he's kind of shifting into a super dangerous position in the open. I don't feel like this shift was necessary. Honestly, even dropping here was unnecessary. Like, he can just stay on high ground here and pretty much heal anybody in this area. Obviously, if he wants to heal the Diva, he's going to have to put himself in a very dangerous position. And if we look at their comp, all it takes is one Discord, some damage from the Diva. You know, he's dead. They have so many things that can follow up on him, so he needs to be extremely careful here. And this position, to me, is very, very risky. Because obviously he's just exposed to so many people. Healing back for Leave. Right now, if we look at where the main portion of the enemies are, he knows there's a ball behind him, but he also knows the main portion of the enemies around this corner, so I'm hoping that he just keeps his distance here and focuses on healing and pocketing one of these targets. Oh, that's not good. You don't want to shift towards that. Maybe they called a reset here, but I think he doesn't ever want to go towards this main area. He wants to keep the distance here. Alright. So far, had some pretty big mistakes. And when you're playing against these kind of players, you can't afford to make any mistakes whatsoever. Because they're not going to miss. You know, playing against the likes of Carpe, Rascal, Alarm, they're not going to miss. Okay, so Leave has switched onto the Ashe. So he now has a solid pocket target being the Ashe. And I really like the Hunter's position right now as well. They have a nice setup here. I would love to see the Ana swapped off to a Zen now with this comp, because I think it's just a lot better for... It provides you a lot more firepower. But look at this, like, they outrange the enemy comp now. They outrange the enemy comp with this Ashe. The only thing they're lacking with is that Zen damage, with the Zen pressure with the Discord. Notice how he's not looking at the Ashe, because the Ashe, you know, it's not important to look at the Ashe. He can damage boost heal the Ashe without needing to look towards her. What he is doing is he's looking kind of like the frontal direction to try and get information on where the enemies are coming from, right? Because if he knows and he has more information on what the enemies are doing, he can then position and have the better information to make the right decisions. So that is why we see him here. He's not caring about the Ashe. Just trying to gather information here. He's looking where the enemies are. He's trying to paint a picture in his head where the enemies are positioned around the map so that he can be aware of where his threats are coming from. Tracer is to his right, so he knows the Tracer's to his right. He pops the Valk. I think he's Valking here just because his tanks are taking so much damage. He's trying to relieve a little bit of pressure. And he also potentially recognizes that his team have kind of given a little bit of position away. So I think this is more of a Valk to kind of try and support. Nano comes out from Hunters. And they retake the space nicely, get the Diva mech. I believe Jinmu also got a hack there onto Hotbar. Okay, so Monk is now on Zen. So they actually do have a really nice comp. I like this comp a lot. They have good firepower. I think Sombra is still very, very strong with the hack timer. This is on 0. I think this is on like 0.6 second hack. It's pretty low. This is the original. This is the previous. This is the Sombra when she was a lot stronger with the hack time. Pretty straightforward right now. He's just sticking with Leave, trying to make sure Leave has that damage boost as much as possible, because all it takes, right, is one good Ashe shot. And potentially that's one pick. Notice how he's okay with some of the tanks. He's okay with some of the tanks being low. He's not risking himself to put himself in danger to heal these tanks. He's focusing on supporting this Ashe. And he's trying to heal the tanks when possible. Like there, if he shifts towards the Diva there, he's dead, right? He's going to get Discord. So he knows that he can't really go towards these tanks. And unfortunately for the tanks, you know, they're not going to have a lot of heals. It's just the way it goes. Unfortunately for them, they're not going to have a whole lot of heals. But, you know, you can see here he's healing them when an opportunity presents itself, when he can do it safely. And that's the key. He's healing these tanks when he can do so safely. He's not risking his life to heal them. The Ashe and Zen have a really nice setup here. It's definitely proving hard for Fusion. Wow, Gargoyle gets absolutely shredded. He pops the Valk. I think at this point he's popping Valk again as like a kind of like a defensive Valk. Obviously provides you with that AoE damage boost and AoE healing, so he's going for the Valk here. I think to just try and provide like a bit more support and sustain for the whole team. Doesn't go for the res on Gaga there. I think this is definitely more of a defensive res. Leave and Jinmu get both the enemy DPS there. The Fusion have no DPS to work with. We see them pushing forward real quick. No hesitation there. They get the 2 picks on the DPS, and everyone on Hunters are instantly pushing forward, trying to capitalize on that. And you see Fusion recognize that and back off. That's a good example of the tempo. Maybe I'll even do a video on tempo. Oh, Leave gets... He kind of walks back into the stickies there. Bob comes out. Oh, Carpe's already there. So he knows that the enemies are pushing this right side now. He didn't know up until now, but he now knows if the McCree is on this right side, the chances are the enemy Zen, Brig, and the rest of these guys are also on this side. So they are down one of their main DPS. Bob goes down. This rotation across here is extremely risky because my only concern with this is like, what cover do they have? What cover do they have from this position over here? Especially if they've made this rotation around. And now Fusion kind of have complete position control. Chengdu have no position control here. It's just kind of rough for them. Okay, so Monk just uses trance. EMP comes out from Jinmu. Still playing very, very defensively here, NISHA. It's like he's going to try and touch the point a little bit. Guardian Angel's away from the Zen. You see how he just tags point briefly there just to try and stop the cart from pushing. And then shifts back away, using that Guardian Angel to ping pong around his teammates. Does miss the shift slightly there onto Elsa. He does have to be careful though, because you see these mines around. Like, he has to be very, very careful. Very close to that mine. Tries to get up Gaga. He's in a very dangerous position here. This is... Yeah, and you see how close he gets to dying here. Just all it takes is one mistake on the Mercy. You're going to get punished by these Overwatch League players. Wow, he's going for, okay, he's going for the res off the edge. And he's screaming here. Right now, he's absolutely screaming to Gaga. Peek me! Peek me! See what we can see when he comes back up. So he gets up. Now, at this point, he has to make a decision between who's going to heal. He goes for Gaga, who's on point. I think Elsa's probably the best target here. He can't heal Jinmu inside. He doesn't see that Monk is taking damage because he's just switched the healing field onto Gaga. Quickly realizes that Monk is taking damage, comes back to heal him. Monk goes down. Instantly pops the Valk. That should be it. Leavers on the Bastion. I don't see them. I don't see Fusion come back from this one. There we go. So a couple mistakes with positioning. I think NISHA's had a couple of times where he's gotten himself in a pretty sticky situation. He has got punished for it mostly. There was a couple of times where he has gotten away with it. Grandpa NISHA. All right, what's he gonna play here on the attack? Are we gonna see more Mercy? Hunters, I think they like playing these Mercy comps. They like investing a lot into their DPS. The Mercy Scout. Okay, we got a Pharah now from Jinmu. Nothing's really changed for him here. He still has the same playstyle, whether it's Echo or Pharah. The first thing we're seeing here is, again, like, who are the threats? This is something you should always do if you're playing. Regardless of what your character you're playing in Overwatch, this is what you should do. You should check your threats. So for him, the threats are going to be the same. McCree, Tracer, Bull, and Diva. Those are the threats. Right now they have no Zen, so it's not a Zen. Ana can be a threat. But we see here, to avoid him being at risk to his threats, he's just using the cover here nicely. He doesn't need to be peeking out in the open here. He can just use the cover here. Still damage boost, still heal, still do his job. But be safe. Mercy is kind of like just a survival simulator. You just have to try and survive, that's it. So everything you're thinking about is, okay, how the hell do I survive here? If I go for this res, is the area safe? Can I survive? If I shift towards this target, can I survive? So he shifts in here. And do you see how he repositions over to this side? I'm assuming that Jinmu has communicated that the McCree is rotating here. And the McCree is rotated across. But he's eventually going to have to come back across here. He's also looking to see what Jinmu is seeing. He sees Jinmu shooting from this position to the right. He just sees the McCree. Sees the McCree, so he shifts back. And now he's using the cover there. Sees that Monk is getting some pressure from Rascal, peels back. Keeping an eye on Monk. This is one of the now this is one of the weaknesses of playing these comps. If the enemy successfully puts a lot of pressure on your Ana, and your Ana's not in a good position, your tanks are really going to struggle. So I would like to see Hunters put a lot more emphasis on getting Monk set up in a good position, maybe on this position, maybe even, I mean, top right is kind of risky, so I think this is probably one of the only positions he can take. He can heal Elsa pretty nicely from here, and he's relatively safe. Oof, that was sketchy. He does drop down to try and get Elsa, but Elsa's in trouble. He's in big trouble. You've seen some high-level Mercy players time their heal and damage beam with the Pharah's fire rate. I'm not sure how it works now. Like, I think how it works now is you have to damage boost. Yeah, you can do that. You can do that. And I think some Mercy players will do that. He just doesn't seem to be doing it at this point. He's just kind of damage boosting and healing when he needs to, which is also fine. The thing is with when you're playing the Mercy is you don't necessarily know when the Pharah is going to shoot. Like, Pharah might just be conserving rockets, so she might not be shooting, right? So it is also kind of like, there's pros and cons to doing that. Like, sure, if your Pharah is constantly spamming, it works. But if your Pharah is like being intelligent and like timing and placing her shots, you can't sync those shots up if you're kind of like trying to. Okay, so let's see where the enemy DPS are. He hears the enemy McCree on the left side there. He shifts in aggressively. See how he's like relocated over to this side? So he's gone from this side over to here, and Jinmu's obviously pushing forward here. So he's kind of just always trying to break the line of sight with the enemy threats like McCree. Hugging the wall very, very closely here. Carpe's nanoed. Okay, Carpe just kills. Straight up just kills too. And survives. Well, that's one thing you can definitely do. Yeah, that's a nice play. Like nano Carpe. Have Carpe just click 2 heads. Looking around a lot here just to make sure he gets any information on what's happening. High Noon comes out instantly. As soon as he hears that High Noon sound, he is dropping down. He recognizes the Tracer's close, shifting away. Tracer is behind, but he's not concerned. They want to go for an aggressive play. Yeah, they're going for the nano play. He does shift in. I like this position a lot because if we think about this, like, he's playing amongst the chaos here. Jinmu is putting a lot of pressure here. He's engaging. He's playing aggressive on the Pharah. And so what is NISHA doing? NISHA is playing directly above him. And I think NISHA expects the enemy McCree is inside this room. But we see here Carpe is actually repositioning. And I think right now he has actually lost where the enemy McCree is positioned. So this is kind of dicey. Pops the Valk. I think he's popping Valk here because he recognizes he's in a bad position. Yeah, he recognizes he's in a bad position. So he pops the Valk. And obviously during the Valk, you're a lot harder to kill. So Jinmu goes down, goes instantly for the res. He's not waiting here. Have a look why he's not waiting. Firstly, because he's using Valk. And secondly, because he wants to get it off. If he waits, he probably has a feeling like the enemy are going to start converging on the position where Jinmu is. And so he Valks, comes away. Happens to the best of us, honestly. Happens to the best of us. Wow, Fusion are committing to this. So, a lot of decisions that have to be made here for NISHA. Let's look. We see the enemy Ashe, sorry, his Ashe leave. Monk, Elsa, and Gaga are playing on low ground here. They're relatively close together. Jinmu is holding the top right high ground. He is torn. He has to try and make sure Jinmu stays up and do his responsibility, which is keep Jinmu alive and pocket Jinmu. But the enemies are also diving and putting a lot of pressure, or Rascal's at least putting a lot of pressure onto Monk and Leave. Now, I think personally, Monk and Leave should be able to 1v2 the Tracer. And he can actually stay with Jinmu. He does shift back. And because of this aggressive play, like shifting across here, he takes... How much damage does he take? He takes 113 damage. And now he's in a position where he's taking a lot of damage just because of this rotation across. Obviously, rotation across with a McCree, an Ana, a D.Va, a Ball. He is going to be one of the main targets here. And so he has to expect it. If he shifts across here, he's going to get focused down. I would have really liked to have seen him maintain his position with Jinmu. Come inside into the window here and play from here. And then if he does need to shift across for whatever reason, you know, he can try and shift across and get over towards... But I think what I didn't like here was how long he's drifting here for. See that? He's drifting in the open for such a long time. This needs to be a quick shift across. He cannot waste any time floating it through the dangerous zone there. And that's ultimately, I think, why he gets killed in this position. Pulls out the Glock. Sometimes I feel like with the jump tech, sometimes it's really good, but sometimes it can actually get you in a bad situation because you're putting yourself in the air, so you're more visible to a lot of people. But I think for the most part, he's using it well. So Jinmu, Jinmu's now on the Sombra. They've kind of given up on the Pharah here. To be completely honest with you, this game so far, you know, Hunters have been most successful on this Ashe comp. Whenever Jinmu's been on either the Pharah or the Echo, it hasn't really been working out for them too well. So Hunter's going back with the Ashe comp, and let's see how they play this. Sticking closely to the statue there, shifts across. Monk just manages to dodge that. See how he's avoiding line of sight completely here, just using the cover there, making sure we avoid that high noon. Shifts out into the open here. He wants to go for this res. You can see how he's like kind of weighing up the options here. Can he go for the res? Is it safe enough to do so? I think he's not going to go for the res. Clutch heal there onto Monk. He doesn't go for the res. Doesn't need to. Tracer's pressuring him. He shifts right into the middle of the team. Because in amongst the team, that is going to be where it's hardest. And that's like safety in numbers for him. Okay. Hunter's managed to get the point. So we've got a potential full cap here for Hunters. Monk switches over to that Zen as well. They're gonna have a lot more firepower with this comp as well now. And they're not on the brig, so Monk is gonna have a kind of a tough time. They're not going with the brig, so that leaves Rascal and Mano open to have a lot more value here on the ball and tracer. Copy goes nano. Copy gets nanoed again. Instantly pops the Valk in response to the nano. I wonder if we're going to see Chengdu push forward aggressively here and kind of like group as a unit. One way you can get a lot of value from your Mercy Valk. If we look at this now, you see that? How the Mercy Valk is chaining all of his teammates? This is how you can get a lot of value from your Mercy Valkyries. If you communicate to your teammates, push forward together and stay as a unit, this is how you can get value. Because if we look here, they're all getting this damage boost. Gaga goes down. Again, he instantly goes to the res. The reason he's instantly going for this res is because he knows that they already have some picks. Carpe's down. They have the Hopper mech. The fusion are kind of like funneled into this choke area, into this alleyway. And we see there the AoE heals, the AoE damage boost coming down. Mostly AoE heals there. Just for the sustain. So only Nano committed to that fight, actually. That was a good fight for them. And alarm switches off the Ana onto the Zen. Just pocketing the Ashe so far, damage boosting the Ashe. Using this high ground just as a nice fallback option. You see here how he's actually using this high ground nicely, just to keep the distance and make sure he's using the full range of that beam. Bob comes in. Still hard pocketing leave. I actually like that. I like the Sigma swap here because he's a lot more independent. Shifts to the high ground. Okay, didn't really have to do too much this fight, but he did a good job. He just focuses on pocketing leave, making sure he stays in a safe position. He doesn't need to put himself in danger if he doesn't need to. You don't know if you missed this already, but when do you choose Mercy over Brig in spam/dive hybrid comps? It's entirely up to your team. Both have separate win conditions. If you play the Mercy, you're putting a lot more resources into your DPS, which means that your DPS are going to be favored versus the enemy DPS. However, if you play the Brig, if you play the Mercy, the downside to playing the Mercy is that your ball, the enemy ball and tracer, if they have one, are going to get a lot more value, and they're potentially going to be able to kill your Zen a lot easier, right? Because your Brig, if you're playing the Brig, you have a lot more peel potential. You can actually deny completely the ball from getting in. So those are kind of like the pros and cons to running Mercy. If you run Brig, you're investing less into your DPS and you're investing more into your flex support. You're basically saying that when you play Brig, you are not going to kill my Brig. You're not going to kill my Zen. My Zen is going to survive because I'm going to focus on peeling for the ball and denying those dives onto your Zen. So essentially Mercy is a lot more glass cannon, a lot more firepower, but a lot more risky because your Zen has less survivability. And Chengdu have a really nice position right now. Up until Jinmu dies, but they have a really solid position. Elsa's taking the left here, denying this left side. NISHA, Leave is set up in a very, very nice position here, putting so much pressure from this high ground. I like this position a lot. Doesn't manage to get the shift. He's not able to pocket him. There he is now. He's healing. Or Monk gets taken out. Oh, and then Carpe takes out Leave. Yeah, he's not happy with that one. He's resetting this one. I wonder... So it's incredibly hard for him to keep the Zen alive here. Like, I'm trying to think, how can he keep the Zen alive? Does he hear any information on where the enemy tracer is? That's the question. Because if he does... So he did actually hear the tracer. He did hear the tracer blinking around there. What health was Monk? Why is Monk get... Oh, okay. Wait, what? How do you take damage there? Who shot Monk? Okay, then Alarm right-clicked Monk. And then he gets the Discord on him. That was a really nice peek from Alarm. And he gets discorded, and then there's absolutely no way that NISHA can heal through this. Yeah, there's no way he can heal through this. The only thing he can do here is just be listening out for that Mercy. Listening out for that Tracer and kind of like trying to hear where she is. Because obviously if she's blinking close to the Zen, he needs to be turning around ASAP. So he's just going to reset this. Down their Zen, down their Ashe. Fusion are inevitably going to push that. But right now, Chengdu are kind of in like... They're in a phase where they have to retake space. Monk gets a huge pick there. He does get discorded. They're going with a lot of ults. Stick. They're heavily invested in this fight. They have to win this. Focusing on healing here. I hope he's going to finish this Valk on high grounds. Maybe not. Okay. I suppose the enemies have a Widow, so he doesn't want to have any risk of him getting picked off here. Chengdu don't have a very good position. I'm very afraid of this Widow. NISHA right now is using the cover nicely. I'm assuming that he knows the enemy Widow is coming from right side. Even if the enemy Widow comes from left side, he's not too worried, right? Because the Widow doesn't have line of sight onto him. The only way she does have line of sight is if she grapples top, and then he has a bit of time to react to that. Yeah, I'm kind of guessing that they know the Widow is right side. Some big heals onto NISHA. Some big heals into Elsa there. Go back slightly. The EMP comes out from Jinmu. He's pushing forward. Gets the heal. He uses the Guardian Angel to shift towards Leave. Gets the heal onto Elsa. Elsa's looking like he's going to go down. Elsa goes down. He's in a tough spot. I think he might be dead. Good heals from Monk. This is very, very tough. Don't see them winning this. Goes for the res. Goes for the under the floor res. And he's going to probably shift back up here as well. This is nice. I don't know what impact it's going to have. Wow. Monk gets Alarm. This could be winnable now. Comes back, gets the peel onto Monk. You see how he's peeling Monk there and he instantly turns back away. Okay, that was a good turnaround. Hopper gets Monk. Doing a really decent job of surviving here. Fortunately, Monk goes down. He no longer has that healing. I really thought Chengdu were going to bring this back, but it doesn't look like they are. Yeah, I think they lost this one now. And there you go. This was honestly a tough game for NISHA. I feel like he had some points where he played decently. Overall, if I was coaching this player, I would say we definitely need to continue working on kind of like making sure he's aware of where his threats are and then using natural cover appropriately, because there were a few times where he did get caught out in dangerous positions. And honestly, as the Mercy, he has a pretty tough job. He has to track where the enemy threats are. He has to track where his Pharah is, or his Echo, or his Ashe, his main DPS. He has to focus on healing, keeping alive his Zen, as well as focusing on his survival first. His survival is the #1 priority. But there was a couple times this game where I feel like he could have avoided dying. He made the aggressive play, going for reses a couple of times, and he did get punished for that. And there were a few times he did linger out in the open, And all it takes is one Discord, one shot from the enemy Zen, and then you've got the Diva follow-up, Tracer follow-up, McCree follow-up. A lot of pressure in this comp for him. Okay guys, if you did enjoy this video, I'd really appreciate if you could drop a like on the video and maybe even consider subscribing. If you do have any other pro reviews you'd like me to review, leave me a comment down in the description. Let me know which one you'd like me to review. Thank you everybody for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.